What is with the mask?
She did that. All right, I'll take the mask. I took
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
People went from doing this to this. It looked like somebody was wearing my mask, right?
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's me. Yo,
Yeah. We in the clouds, baby. One. Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy OG Fabio back here with a new In the Clouds podcast with a very special guest, DJ Lyon Head. He just had me on his podcast not too long ago. This podcast came out a little bit later than expected. Just getting used to this new work schedule. So bear with me, guys. There's going to be a lot more content coming in, and we're going to keep 2025 rolling. To go support my boy DJ Lyon Head, go to the Support Cha Boi Podcast, either on Instagram or on YouTube, and let them know that you came from the In the Clouds family. And as for the In the Clouds podcast, just keep doing the thing, like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff, and share the podcast, with a friend, homie, that person right next to you right now. So whoever it is, it really helps out. As always, stay in the clouds.
If I want to get like 4 or 5 of them, it's not gonna happen.
It's not working.
Yeah.
So, all right, now we're rolling. We're officially in the Clouds podcast. Thank you so much for being here. First of all,
Hey, no problem, man. No problem. I like this.
taking some time out of your day and sitting down, just having a little conversation.
Yeah.
So I think everybody wants to know what is with the mask. You are DJ Lyon Head.
Yeah.
Is it because of the name, or is the mask came before the name?
The mask definitely came before the name. So,
Okay.
I'm also before I became DJ Lyon, or it wasn't even a DJ, I've been a local show promoter here in Sacramento.
Yeah.
And as I was putting on shows, the promoter started to notice. I'm not promoter. The other DJs started noticing my show was getting bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So they want more money and more money, which
Oh.
makes sense.
Uh-huh.
You start having 40 people show up
Mm-hmm.
at your event, and now you got 60, 80 to 97 people showing up there on a regular.
Yeah.
They know I'm making a little bit of money, so they want a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I started noticing that I was paying the DJ more than I was paying out because I pay out people. So if you're my door guy, I pay you. I'm not gonna just get all the money for myself.
Yeah, for sure.
Whoever's working with me, you're gonna get money too.
Mm-hmm.
But they started noticing that their money was getting lower, and the DJs were asking for more. So I was like, what do you do? So I started filming his equipment,
Mm-hmm.
looking it up, learning how to DJ from YouTube. Shout out to YouTube, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I started looking at the equipment, started practicing, and then one day I was ready.
Mm-hmm.
The day I decided, it was like a couple days after Halloween. I think it was in 2016. I wanted to go ahead and DJ my first time while actually I was gonna DJ and promote, do the promoters at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was leaving, my youngest daughter Maya, shout out Maya, she goes, "Dad, you should wear this mask while you're DJing."
Yeah.
I said, "Girl, this is my first time DJing. I'm trying to be a serious DJ.
Yeah.
I ain't trying to wear no mask like
Yeah.
that. Come on now." And then she started giving me the puppy eyes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she did that, I'm like, all right, I'll take the mask. So I took it, put it inside my box, with my DJ equipment, and the whole night never wore it.
Yeah.
Didn't wear it at all. And then somebody who was very inexperienced got on the mic, and it was his first time getting on stage.
Mm-hmm.
He looked nervous. Everybody was on their phones like this,
Yeah.
not paying attention to him. The bartender was just cleaning the glass. You know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, fuck, this is the best time ever. So put the mask on. Some people were like, the bartender's like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
And then after a while, I got on stage with the dude, put my arm around the dude as he's rapping.
Yeah.
People went from doing this to this.
Mm-hmm.
And then the very next day, I had like 800 or 900 views in my For You page from, it looked like somebody was wearing my mask. Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, that's me. Yo,
Yeah.
So I looked at him like, oh shit. I'm like, this has got to be something. Did it the second time. And when I did the second time, there was like women, men at the show.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't come to see me. They would come to see their people, right? 'Cause I'm
Yeah.
just a promoter. But after I wore the mask, at the end of the night, there was a line of people came up to me. They said, "Hey, bro, I have my son have a birthday party. Could you DJ with the mask and everything?"
Yeah.
I knew I had a business.
Yeah. Without a doubt. So you shout out your daughter. First of all, she's the one that put you on with the mask.
Exactly.
But you kind of saw it as an opportunity to like, okay, this kind of distinguish myself from another DJ.
Exactly.
And so so you wear it in all your content now, or do you sometimes take it off?
The only time I take it off is if I'm doing it in like if I'm interviewing you
Hmm.
and I'm doing like kind of DJ Vlad style where you're the main focus,
Okay, for sure.
then I don't wear it because I'm just talking to you.
So
But
it's
if you
not for any privacy reasons, like, oh, okay, I don't want to show my face too much, or is it just more like it's already part of the brand, so you're
yeah,
gonna,
it's already part of the brand. So when they hear DJ Lyon Head,
mhm.
he's gonna go live, they got to see the mask.
Yeah. Man, I don't know how you do it because I be in a podcast sometimes. I'm already sweating and I can't even imagine with the mask on too.
Yeah, I call it it's like a formal workout, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, I got my own personal sauna.
Yeah, a little sauna on the head. Man, and so you have the Support Your Boy podcast.
Yes.
When did you officially start that podcast?
I think it was February of 2023.
23. Okay.
Right? I thought it was 22, but that's when I had the idea, but I never really put it together
Okay.
until 2023. So that's when I really started it with, and I needed a co-host. So I had a co-host with a guy named Dripaline.
Okay.
And shout out Dripaline. And everything was going good, and the show was going good. And then, of course, he is also a rapper, but he's also an engineer.
Oh, okay.
He works at Guarantee Music downtown, right? Shout out Guarantee Music Studios.
Yeah.
He's the engineer there, so he makes money there. He's doing a podcast, but of course, you don't see him too much because he got to make his money.
Yeah.
So I told him, the door is always open. So
Hmm.
whenever he wants to come back to the pod or anytime, because he started with me,
Hmm.
he can come back. And just like an 85 South show,
Yeah.
you don't always see DC Young Fly there,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
but when he's there, he's there. Same situation.
So it was you two, and you guys were just you guys had guests on, or was it just you two sitting down and talking?
Um, we first started to talk in the intro about what we're gonna do. That was the first intro. Hey, we're gonna start putting on people, interviewing them,
Hmm.
trying to get behind the artist, behind the mind of the artist, things that uh, they never usually tell you. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So that's what we were. That's how we started, and then we did our first interview. Somebody he knew, Eshuelo, and it was pretty cool. And then I was like, man, we got some. I said, think about it. As a show promoter, I put on a lot of people
Hmm.
on the underground here in Sacramento, and I'm from the Bay,
Hmm.
and I know a lot of people there. We have an abundance of guests.
Hmm.
Let's get into the mind of these people, and put on a show, and support them as another form of way to release your music or talk about your previous thing. What you got going on now?
Yeah.
So that's how we got going.
So when you guys had started it, you guys just wanted to connect with mainly artists and kind of get their story and get their backstory.
Exactly. That's how it started.
Okay.
And then I was like, you know what? Support your boy. It's about support. It's not only about artist support. I work with other people. So
Mhm.
there was another show promoter, Ilisa. Shout out to Ilisa. She is a promoter like me,
Mhm.
and she's been doing it longer than I have. So she has a business.
Mhm.
I put her on the podcast. So I started working for small businesses. I'm not working for her, but putting on people who work in small businesses.
Mhm.
And then I was like, man, my podcast is about supporting people. It shouldn't only be just artists. It should only be a small business. Anybody who's kind of content creation.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Sometimes they don't get that shine
Mhm.
because you don't have the money for to pay like the Facebook advertisers $2,000. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I'm not saying I'm gonna give you that kind of thing on my podcast,
Yeah.
but
It's a chance, and then there's a chance of exposure.
exactly.
Yeah.
So then I started getting into um I was always into street beefs,
Oh yeah.
the show and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
uh, I got a hold of one of them, and then hey,
Well, support your. I mean, not support your. But street beefs is freaking huge now. Like I remember when they were just kind of like putting up videos on YouTube, and it wasn't really taken that serious. Like they were
yeah,
just kind of taking like, oh, it's just a backyard fight or something. But then you start seeing them putting on like events and people really like showing up and supporting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So street beefs, it's gotten so big now that they're gonna have like a division in Europe. I heard.
Mm. Oh
Not many
shoot.
people know about that, but
Hmm.
they're about to make a street beefs Europe version. I'm like, that's dope as hell.
Damn. So they're really just expanding out of where they had started from.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the out of all the backyard uh battling things, they're number one in the backyard world, which is like I would say a step before you go amateur in
Yeah.
the MMA world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like Kimbo Slice back in the day.
Right.
Like
So if you want like it's basically the UFC of Kimbo Slice type backyard fighting.
yeah. Man, um I remember like we would get so high and then we'd be watching street beefs, just like hour-long compilations of dudes knocking each other out. Some dude
Yeah.
with like no experience just coming in
Right.
and mauling people. It's scary just to get into that world, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever
Yeah.
thought about getting into the street beefs content
hmm
yourself? You thought about going into the ring?
As a joke, I was gonna actually go into the ring with street
Hmm.
beefs and wear the mask
yeah,
just to see me kind of in a playful way get knocked out, but not in a dangerous way.
yeah. Well, they're very safe, to be honest. Like once you get knocked down once, you can't. They just stop the fight, right?
Right. So basically, if they see blood, fight over.
Oh, okay. Blood. Okay.
Yeah, the blood they fight over. And if you get knocked down and and you start taking a step like kind of to the side a little too slow, when they say you ready, you take a side a little too slow, or you look like you're on roller skates, fight over.
So you had told me before that you didn't listen to much podcasts until around 2020.
Right.
Um, what what was you said? What was the first podcast that got you introduced to the podcast world?
Bill Burr's Monday morning podcast.
Yeah.
That was an all audio.
How did you come across? Like, did you just find it randomly on YouTube? It suggested for you.
Yeah, so they saw that I was watching so much content of Bill Burr, which is one of my uh I know I hate to section people off like this, but as a white comedians, he
Mhm.
is number one to me. Is Bill
Yeah,
Burr. They
he's
go
up there for sure. For me, I love Bill Burr. His
yeah,
type of humor, his his style of humor.
yeah,
His he has a little different. He's not so much jokes. It's more like observations.
yeah. Stuff that he goes through in life
Mhm.
that happens to be very relatable. The stuff that you say in your head, he's doing it through a microphone.
Yeah,
So I started listening to him, and I'm like, oh, this is podcasting is just it's audio. This is dope. I'm gonna try to see if there's any more. And then I saw one video of a comedian by the name of Andrew Schultz. He had one called "The Brilliant Idiots"
yeah, with Charlemagne.
with Charlemagne the Guy, and that
Hmm.
was the first video one I saw. And I'm like, this is dope. I like this. So
Hmm.
that was the second podcast I watched, and then the third one during 2020, I was hooked, and it was the 85 South Show.
Yeah,
I'm definitely an 85 percenter, and right then I was like, you know what, this is what I want to do.
yeah, yeah. It's did you like automatically like you knew like this is the type of content I want to bring, or were
Yeah,
you trying to
because
do content before that?
right. So the only content I would do before is uh filming myself at a DJ event.
Oh,
Like if
okay.
I'm DJing for your aunt or something like that, I'm
Hmm.
like, hey, I'm DJ Lyon here, you know, I'm
Hmm.
DJing here, this, yeah. That's all content I was really putting out.
Yeah.
And then also during the pandemic, I was making, and I still do, make lo-fi music because I got really into two things I got into is lo-fi music
Hmm.
and podcasting.
Yeah.
Um, Not to get too personal, but during 2020, my mom has her dementia went to so high of a state, you know,
Oh, okay. Hmm.
that family couldn't help because of the pandemic.
Hmm.
So I was kind of like stuck with her situation. It was wild. She would just run out in the middle of the street,
Hmm.
you know, in her nightgown, with nothing, or sometimes even nothing on. I had to,
Yeah.
you know, because her mind was gone. So I had to wrangle her in. But it was
Yeah.
so stressful because I couldn't call family. Nobody can help me.
Hmm.
Just me and mom. It was so stressful. So I was led to a life where I was gonna go either possibly start drinking,
Hmm.
but then at the time I found out that weed was illegal.
Oh, yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
like, if I'm gonna go ahead and go down this I gotta find some kind of relaxation.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though I'm a married man,
Mm-hmm.
I got a wife. You can only do it so many times.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so
yeah,
you
and
know,
yeah. You know, you need there's a lot of hours to the day. You can't spend it the
exactly,
whole day like.
exactly. You still need that stress release.
Well, that's like the beautiful thing about weed is like you could smoke and you could do shit when you're smoking. You know, you can't really do shit while you're drunk.
Right.
You know, you just want to kind of when you're drunk, you don't want to do shit. You just like fuck everything. But then when you're smoking, you kind of like start getting in your head more like, damn, I don't got nothing to do right now. Let me freaking learn how to, like you said, DJ or not DJ, but lofi music and podcasting.
Yeah. So also because it was chill thing. It was thing to chill me out because it was so stressful handling that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so the lo-fi kind of chilled me out mentally, making it and listening to it. But lo-fi and weed, oh my god.
Yeah.
So, but then at the same time, I was missing talking to the homies,
Mm-hmm.
and they were so focused on to their families. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
during the pandemic, it was kind of tough. I like to have that people around.
Mm-hmm.
And the closest thing I got was the 85 South show.
Mm-hmm.
They're smoking weed on the couch, and they talking about subjects, basically doing what we're doing now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, so I felt like I was on the couch with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I connected so deeply with the 85 South Show and what they were doing. And
Mm.
then everything they were saying was so relatable. I was like, man, I want to be able to, talk to people, tell people what's going on in my head, or want to know what's more, deeper thoughts in their head. Because I don't know if they think the way that I do. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start doing this.
That's definitely like what the main attraction is for podcasts. It's almost feeling like you're just there with them.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
even with the Bill Burr podcast, it almost feels like it's just you and the homie talking about stupid shit. Says a stupid joke or he says some shit that's in a funny way, and that's for sure like the biggest attraction for people. Like almost having that group of friends that maybe they don't have at the time or they're not able to, like COVID.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's really great because not only that, sometimes when you work a job and your job can be um, the same old thing. Like, for example, I do custodial work. I used to do as a campus police, ride around something like that. I listen to podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. You could just throw it into your ear, and it's like kind of like weed. You could just throw it in the background. It's
yeah,
like a background thing, and then you could still do what you're gonna do.
yeah. It was a great way to chill out
Hmm.
when things get stressful. And most of my homies that that's not here are in the Bay Area because I'm from the
Hmm.
Bay Area myself.
Yeah.
So and but they work. I'm older up in age, so they're all married with kids.
Hmm.
So they can talk to me and stuff like that. But
Yeah. It's so much like I was telling my friends the other day, like to get the whole group of friends together, like back in the day
yeah,
when it just used to be high school and everybody was like, "Fuck, let's ditch school, fuck school, whatever," or let's go hang out in this place. You can't do that no more because
yeah,
one person got work, another person got their kid, another person got another responsibility. So it's like it's hard to get the whole group of friends back together.
it really is. It really is.
Well, so you had started doing podcasts in 2023, with uh, what was his name again? The engineer.
That was name. His name was Dripaline. That's when we started the Support Cha Boi podcast. If I may back up a bit,
Yeah.
I think we talked this beforehand. Before I started doing the Support Cha Boi podcast, I was I, during the 2020 the pandemic, I had another podcast and still do.
Hmm.
And that's kind of like on hiatus for right now.
Okay.
It's called the Laughing at Your Life podcast.
Oh, okay.
Now, I was the producer. I'm
Mm.
behind the scene guy.
Mm.
I started as a behind the scene guy who turned out to be in front of the scene.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
love
okay.
editing.
Mhm.
I love being behind the scene and seeing something come to life
Mhm.
that I worked in the
Yeah.
background. I guess you would say I'm more like I don't know. The Oz kind of like make the thing,
Oh, okay. Make the show run pretty much
right.
like a
Yeah.
director, pretty much doing it.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Laughing at Your Life podcast is a comedy podcast,
Mhm.
and I will create most of the segments,
Mhm.
but it's with my wife, Shauna J,
Mhm.
and Rochelle, her best friend.
Mhm. 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 Mhm.
And that all started because, 'cause, 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 'c sometimes you'll be working on something in the house, and she have her friend over on her couch, and they'll be talking, and their energy would just be they just be laughing like hell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're in there making a sandwich, you know what I mean, making a soda
Yeah.
during the pandemic, and these girls are just end up having you laughing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like ear hustling, and
Mm-hmm.
I end up laughing.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, these girls got something.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, hey, look, I'm thinking about doing a podcast. If y'all be interested? They're like, hell yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
it started off doing laughing at your life was more like tell us your funny relationship story and we'll laugh at it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And that didn't really work out too well because nobody would just give up their information. Hey,
Yeah.
would you call in and we'll talk about it, and that
Mm-hmm.
didn't really work too well.
Yeah.
We started doing the advice thing, but then we started to more have funny content. Like we would have wild question of the week,
Okay.
where I have some people who would send some in, and sometimes I'll put in a wild question of the week,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have the what we call the wildest would you rather questions.
Oh yeah.
Some people would send them in, some friends, but mostly it would be me. But some people would send them in,
Yeah.
and we would get the wildest would you rather's you ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
And that started to really catch on. And then we started having guests on, and it was really, really working. And then things happened, so right now it's under hiatus. But I
Mm-hmm.
think like we're coming back. We're working out the kinks of it, and that's
In the works, coming back.
yeah.
Hopefully soon.
Hopefully
We'll
very
get
soon. But you
another.
won't be seeing me. If you do, you'll be
Mm,
hearing me in the background.
yeah.
But yeah,
Okay. So you had started that, just producing that in 2020. You
in
said,
2020, yeah, early
and
2020.
it was going on for the three. What did it? Did it? Did you do the Support Your Boy podcast while you were doing that, or was that already done when you had started the Support Your Boy podcast?
No, so it was still going on while I was doing Support Your Boy. It was just that Support Your Boy was done every 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
Wow. Laughing at Your Life was going on every week.
Yeah.
Every Thursday or Friday we would do it. And then I do the editing over the weekend, and by Monday you have something to laugh at. But of course, I'll hit you with the clips and all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the clips will really help promote the podcast on YouTube.
Well, that's something that I see that you push a lot, and I think that's like for everyone right now. That's like the biggest thing to hop onto, right? The
Right, is
clips.
the clips because um, even in music, like I said, I also work in music. Um, I noticed in music, short form is the way to go because the people have a short attention span these
Mm-hmm.
days.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure back in the day, you remember where hip hop songs would be like 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
It's rarely like that now. You get like a minute and 30. They're basically
Yeah.
making Instagram posts is their whole song.
Yeah. It really sucks to
Yeah,
me because I love that long form, almost like you're telling a whole story with the song.
right. So now it's more, the music is more not like telling a story. It's more like uh, you're basically talking about a moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Talking about a moment, or lying about, most
Or
rappers are
yeah,
lying.
or lying about a moment. I had sex with 10 girls, and then he'll tell you about one verse of that. It'll come back to I had sex with 10 girls. Fade the
Yeah.
song out. You're like, get more in detail. What did they do?
Well,
But they don't.
well, it's like now it's like it's looking for that controversy almost with the one song, or
Right.
like getting in the news somehow. Like you had a um like 6ix9ine really made that popular. I think when he came onto the scene, he was just saying the wildest stuff, didn't care, pretty much like the one of the greatest promo runs of all time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then it just crashed all the way down.
Yeah. I mean, usually I had this post I had put up. It's kind of relates to what we're saying. It was
Hmm.
like, um, the bigger you get on social media, the more haters and scammers you're gonna gain.
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. I mean that's how it is for any social or platform, right?
Right.
With that fame, it comes those bad moments, those paparazzi moments, those
Yeah.
fucking
Like I
everything.
said, the scammers are coming out. His own people,
Mm.
he was messing with a gang, and they, well, kind of scammed them, but they kind of like more like,
They kind of
No,
like played him.
they played him. Yeah,
Yeah.
they hit it with his girl,
Mm-hmm.
and they threatened his parents.
Yeah.
Um,
Probably stole so much money.
probably
They
stole
hated.
an insane amount of money. Scammed them out of hell of money.
Mm-hmm.
He was their golden goose. So he always said, "Yeah, I'm part of this gang."
Mm-hmm.
And they just like, "Hey, look, he a cash cow." They didn't. I don't think they thought of him as really part of the gang. He was a cash cow.
Yeah.
And then he started. I think he's starting to smarten up and realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I condone him snitching? I don't know.
Yeah. That's always so hard to say, right? Because they did do him really dirty.
Yeah,
But then there's that side where it's like that's part of the life. That's
yeah.
you know
It
you
is part of
signed
the
up for
life.
that.
Do I do 20 years
Mm-hmm.
and show them that I'm down with this shit,
Mm-hmm.
and let them keep doing what they're doing? You know what I mean? Or do I say what I say, and be hated
Mm-hmm.
amongst the hip hop community for saying this, but at
Yeah.
the same time saving my freedom
Mm-hmm.
and my girl and my mom from possibly getting taken
Yeah.
out?
Well, that's the thing. It's like it feels like hip hop right now is a lot of fronts and a lot of like just trying to put up who got the most what, who got this and that. But back in the day, it was just more raw and rugged. It was more like this is what I got, this is me, and then you guys got to accept this.
Yeah,
Back with whoever, with Tupac, with Biggie, up to like 50 Cent. 50 Cent didn't give a fuck. He was putting out his music.
yeah,
He was who he was, and he wasn't like flaunting it up. He wasn't putting it down. He was just, this is my story. This is my struggle right now. So this is what I'm going to talk about.
yeah, yeah. I agree. Back then, um,
Who did you
he,
grow up listening to?
um, I had a lot of artists that I listened to. As I'm also a music producer, so
Hmm.
as well as a DJ, so I had a
Yeah.
lot of I got exposed to a lot of music. Like for example, in high school, I'm from the Bay Area, so any
Yeah.
Bay Area hip hop I've listened to.
Hmm.
I still am and was always strongly into Bay Area hip hop. But
Hmm.
then, as time got on, I had I would say, some people would say, an eclectic kind of amount of friends. I had like Asian friends,
Hmm.
Indian friends, and
Diverse.
Latin friends.
Hmm.
So um, they exposed me to all kind of music. Believe it or not, in high school, I was into Master P,
Mm.
JT the Bigger Figure, all straight West Coast stuff,
Yeah.
and at the same time listening to Sex Pistols, Sex Pistols. It was Henry Rollins band, um, um, the Misfits, which are
Mm.
all punk rock
Yeah.
groups, and so I was really into punk rock
Mm.
music, kind of into the grunge. So
Yeah.
people were like, "Man, wait a minute, how are you gonna listen to Nirvana
Hmm.
and then Master P?" At
Yeah.
the same time, I was doing that.
Yeah.
So I was exposed to all kind of music. So that's the kind of music I grew up with, listening to all kind of things.
Well, that's like you were kind of growing up in the golden era of music.
Yeah,
Like that's when everybody, punk rock bands to rappers. That's when, to me, that's when everybody was doing their best stuff.
yeah. It's funny because same thing with the movies.
Hmm.
You ever notice like in the movies like from the '80s and the '90s? Probably you're a
Hmm.
little too young to notice, but most
Hmm.
of those times when they were doing those movies, like in the horror movies back
Hmm.
in the day, they were way more wilder and
Yeah.
weirder
Hmm.
because they was on drugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were on drugs, of course. To
Definitely.
make a movie like Freddy Krueger and all that stuff, they were on
Yeah.
drugs. But when you make movies today, people kind of look down on you for using drugs while you're making movies.
Yeah, without a doubt, the industry back in the day was so wild. Not just
So that's
the
why we just because they were so creative. I hate to say it, when you're on drugs like that, you get
yeah,
pretty creative.
yeah, without a doubt. That's why you get the like. Sometimes I'll be like watching a movie. I'm like, they must have been so fucking high making this.
Yeah,
I was watching especially kids movies. I'll be like, you know what the movie Turbo is?
I heard
Turbo.
about it. I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's like a snail that like he's in the Indy 500 and he's like racing NASCAR or not NASCAR, but I'm not sure, the F1 I think it is.
Uh huh.
And I was just like, they must have been so high. They're like, let's put a snail in a race car race. So I was just like, they must have been on every type of drug back in the day, or not even back in the day because that was pretty recent.
But here's the funny thing about it, though. that the reason why I knew that they were on drugs back in the 80s and the 90s when they're making these great horror movies is because uh, they were so creative. We copy them today. We're making new versions of Freddy Krueger, new
Yeah.
versions of.
Mm-hmm.
That's like 80% of all the scary movies or movies in general
Mm-hmm.
that are really artistic. They're usually done
Mm-hmm.
from remakes of what we did in the past.
Definitely, like '90s for sure was so many fucking good movies. You had like, cause you had no regulation, you didn't have no cancel culture, you didn't have
Right.
none of that. You just had fucking, we're gonna get high off these lines, and then we're gonna think of this movie.
Yeah.
And music too, especially like music was heavily influenced by drugs back in the day.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
you know,
especially in like the late '80s and the early '90s. Hell yeah, it
yeah.
was influenced. Like for example, I was told this. I don't know how true this is, and if he ever sees this,
Hmm.
maybe he can explain. Brother Lynch Hung said for his Season of the Sickness album, he was drunk. He was
Wait,
drinking.
who did you say?
Brother Lynch Hung.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I heard a rumor. I don't know how true it is, but they said during the Season of Sickness, he was doing a lot more drinking when he made that album. But
Mm,
he also made his masterpiece
mm-hmm.
was Loaded,
Okay.
and he made that album
Mm-hmm.
mostly high.
Yeah.
So uh, yeah, sometimes creative. A lot of artists will make some really creative stuff
Mm.
inebriated, but then sometimes they go too far and they can't even
Yeah,
do the
that's
music.
the sad part when they can't control it, or when it lets them pretty much overrun their whole life.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you see that with a lot of people, Nirvana, fucking, a lot of old bands,
Yeah, a lot of
cause.
old bands they would they would do lines of cocaine.
Hmm.
And sometimes in the beginning their songs would come out beautiful
Hmm.
because they just did a small amount and was able to do it. But
Hmm.
then as time goes on, when you start doing those drugs, you need more to get to that
Yeah.
point. And then you don't realize that you start going too far into it.
Hmm.
And then now you're like, you know what
Yeah.
I
Now
mean?
they're
It's just,
heavily just dosed, and they
yeah,
think it's fucking so beautiful in their head, and
yeah,
then
they
they
do.
release it, and everybody's like, "What the fuck?"
Exactly.
Well, yeah, man, it happened to like
It happened to Kurt Cobain from Nirvana,
yeah.
his last album, he would just go. I'm like, I can understand the last album, what the hell he was saying. I mean, it's hard to understand him
Yeah.
unless you read the lyrics. But his last album, I forgot what it was called.
Hmm.
That one was like heavily drugged.
Yeah.
I understand what the hell he was. The music was sounding dope,
Hmm.
and I'm pretty sure the band was like, "Hey, this is sound clean," but what the
Yeah.
fuck is you talking about?
Yeah. Well, it's like that. It was that rock star mentality back in the
Yeah,
day. Like you had to be this fucking drugged out, fucking partying all night just to be that rock star.
yeah, yeah.
But damn, I mean, it makes some fucking dope music. Like, would we have the type of music we have today if it wasn't for that
That's true.
era? Especially like, man, the psychedelic era in the '70s, '80s when
Yeah.
that was like
That was they
taking
really
off.
experiment with all kind of shit, and
Yeah.
they would go way too far. Like for example, the song Louie Louie.
Hmm.
It's an old ass song.
Hmm.
Louie Louie, we
Hmm.
gotta go now. It's an old ass song. I don't expect anybody under 30 to know that song at
Yeah,
all.
yeah. Not
But
too familiar with it. I'm not gonna lie.
I always like to ask people, what was he saying in the lyrics?
Mm.
99.9% people say, would you know the hook?
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. Some people are like, yeah, I don't like this mumble rap. What are you talking about? Louis came out like in the '60s, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was all going, Louis, Louis. That's all people know, right?
Yeah.
But it was very popular. It's still played today.
Mm.
So yeah, it's crazy that they can go overboard like that and it would still play.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, like most of the genres, they were kind of run by a drug. Like you had the punk rock and stuff. They were on whatever the hell they were on. Rappers, I mean, the growth of hip hop kind of came with the growth of weed as well. Because I
Yeah.
mean, rappers were smoking blunts and getting high. And I feel like rap didn't do as many heavy drugs. Maybe now a little bit now because of you had like Juice World and you had like Mac Miller,
Hmm.
those new type of artists. But definitely in those '90s, '80s, it was heavy
Oh yeah,
smoking.
trust me. There was some people was doing Sherm and all kind of crazy stuff like that. For
Yeah,
example, what's that dude's name? He actually ate somebody.
He ate somebody?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I forgot his name. I'm pretty sure anybody who's in their 30s and 40s know what I'm talking about. Lurch, Big
Lurch.
Lurch.
Mm.
He's in jail now, but
Oh
he
shit.
actually I think he killed a woman and then he ate a piece of her liver or something
Oh
like
my
that.
God. Hey, I'm glad he's locked up right now. That sounds
Yeah, but of
crazy.
course he was on Sherm,
Yeah.
which is like almost like
He had like PCP
yeah,
pretty much.
it's like close to that.
Yeah.
So he was really drugged out of his mind. Didn't know what he was doing. Yeah, and I possibly, but maybe he did know what he's doing. I don't really know the case situation, but
Yeah.
that's the craziest situation I've heard of in hip hop back in them days in the 90s.
Something we got to bring up for sure is because you had told me this on the first time we had met that you hadn't tried weed until you hit your 40s.
Mm-hmm.
So you went 40 years without smoking, like not even a puff,
Not even a puff.
not even a contact high.
Not even a if you were smoking in the room with me in my 30s, I go in the other room.
Mm.
I'm like, nah, I ain't trying to get close to that. I don't know why. It's like, it's weird because I always thought when I was younger that weed was an expensive drug. If it's not an effective drug, it's addictive to where it's gonna, I'm gonna start, paying for it all the time.
Yeah.
Plus the fact it's, it's illegal. And I had a homie back in the day. I'm not gonna say your name, bro, but he's from the Bay Area, and he, I think 2 times in a row, he sold weed to uh, undercover police.
Oh, that's a. I've heard the name for sure, but I haven't listened to them much.
It's a homie of mine. He did that,
Oh wait,
and
wait, you said undercut. I thought you meant a band.
no. It's
Yeah,
okay. It's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So I have a homie of mine. I'm not gonna say his name, but he sold weed to a police officer. Not the same
Damn.
officer, but
Yeah.
an undercover person. Like
Oh
we used to call him back in the day a narc.
yeah, yeah. That's what they call them, the
Yeah,
narcs.
but they got
Well, but this was like, well, how long ago was this? This
this
was
was
back in the
like
day.
94, 93.
94. Okay, yeah, that's when they were really cracking down, trying
They're
to.
cracking down on it
Yeah,
back then, and then
yeah,
after a while, you need to have like a card to be able
yeah.
to smoke.
The
I'm like,
medical card.
man, how much work do I have to go through to get that card?
Yeah.
And I just saw my brother spending my older brother who smoked weed
Hmm.
all my life, right? He would section off his check just for weed.
Yeah.
It was expensive back then,
Yeah, for sure.
and then yeah, I just thought it was just doing too much for it, and I always thought that it would cost more than it was worth
Yeah, no, for sure.
back
There was
then.
that was back in the day you would have to get like fucking like you probably got like 30 for a gram or something.
Yeah,
Some crazy shit.
yeah,
Now you
and I thought
get
that was just gonna be too expensive for my blood, so I just wouldn't mess with it.
yeah.
But then as I got older, and like I said, the pandemic, I call myself a pandemic smoker.
Hmm. Yeah.
So reason why is because during the pandemic when it was illegal, like I said, during when my mom was sick with the dementia, uh, my stress levels was insane, and I didn't want to take it out on family stuff like that. So I was talking to my wife. I was like, I might have to start either, to get over this stress, start either drinking or smoking weed. She goes, I'm not gonna have no drunk in this house.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, weed it is. She goes, okay. So she paid for my first eighth. And
Hey,
ever since then, she goes, wait a minute, you smoke, you're easy to talk to, and when you smoke, you love doing the dishes, you love cleaning the house.
yeah.
She goes, I need to get you an eighth every week.
Yeah, hell yeah. See,
Yeah,
if parents thought more like that instead of like, oh my god, it's this fucking you're slow now, or you're like, it literally just makes you more chill.
it
That's all
does.
it does.
It
And
really, really does. So, um, yeah. So my wife, for the first like month,
mhm.
I never paid for it. She was paying for it. She
Yeah.
would drive me to the dispensary.
Okay.
Go get some. 'Cause
Yeah.
I need the damn kitchen done. I don't want to do it.
Mhm.
So I was like, shit. I was smoking weed. Man, I was cleaning so much stuff up around the house. The pandemic, my house was spotless. You come over my house. Oh my God. I mean, I was folding clothes.
Yeah.
Look, my damn closet was looking like a damn The Gap. It was all, you see the logo and shit. It was all
Yeah.
folded up and shit. It was
Everything was
crazy.
folded up. You got a
Yeah,
price tag still on there.
exactly.
Damn, that must have been because I can think about like smoking for the first time when I'm older because that's
Uh,
that's just a whole different experience.
it is.
because as a kid, you're kind of like, I mean, when I first got high, I was just giggling and thinking about whatever the fuck out rainbows or whatever the hell. But as an adult, you've gone through life, you've thought it, and now so you're just high, and you got to experience the first high. But I mean, it must have been great. It must have been like,
Oh my God, was it great? Put it this way,
yeah,
me being a 40 plus, I
hmm
already got gray hair. I think I could have prevented the gray hair from showing up if you guys would have told me how good weed was.
just a little bit of weed. Yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
I'm not saying I'm a stressful ass person, always stressing all that. I'm
hmm
just saying, the way I handle stress was either I would either work out or something. I'll find another way
hmm
to relieve the stress.
hmm
But we just chilled me the hell out.
mellows you out. Yeah,
It mellowed me the hell out, and I was way more um I don't know why I can like listen more.
mm,
It would just think all the things that all my like the problems that I saw in myself
hmm
would be kind of like fixed when I'm under it.
yeah.
But
I mean, it's not like an escape or like you're not using it to like mask the bad things of you.
no,
It
no,
just
no,
helps you with those things that sometimes it can be overwhelming sometimes.
no, no. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. When I lost my father,
Mm-hmm.
um, about a year and a half ago,
Oh, sorry to hear that.
when I lost my father, I was uh, I was on that moon rock.
Mm,
Moon
yeah,
rock is weed, okay? So not
yeah,
rock like
yeah.
people who
No,
don't know.
no crazy stuff.
Yeah, so I was on the strongest weed I could possibly because it was really tough for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I managed to uh, manage what I smoke, and I don't do too much. But
Mm-hmm.
man, I always told my homies who smoked when I was doing music with
Mm-hmm.
them, man, I wish I would have really listened to you guys and how good this shit is.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's a. I don't know if you listen too much of Cat Williams.
Yes,
He has an old bit where he talks about weed. He's like, if you got a job and you got shit to do, I get it. You don't, if you're getting tested, do you don't have to worry about the weed. But if you don't got a job, you don't got this, you don't got that, smoke some motherfucking weed. That shit is made for people in the struggle. It's made for people. And then he was like, he has this
that
great
is so
bit.
true.
Yeah, and he's like, you be high as fuck. Oh my god, these bills. I got to pay the light, the electricity bills. You take one hit of that motherfucker, you be fuck them motherfucking bills. I
Yeah,
got 12 candles. I've been waiting to light them motherfuckers.
hell yeah,
That's one of my favorite bits of all time because it's so
it's a real
true.
shit.
Because you'd be like so stressed. You take one hit, you're like, what the fuck was that? Why am I really stressing about that shit?
Right,
What is the significance? How is that gonna how is it really affecting me?
right, right.
Damn. So, I mean, I don't. I think I like my weed experience, but if I had to wait, I might have done that. I might have just waited, a few more years till I've developed, and then took that first hit of weed. It's probably like this. The stress levels go down.
Yeah, because as you get older, you think the stress levels will be less, but as you get older, us older people got a lot more to stress about. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not trying to belittle
Hmm.
people who are like under 30, because you guys get there's some pretty
Yeah.
crazy stressful things where you guys do.
Mhm.
Well, we just ain't gonna cover. You need something stronger. Some people do that,
Yeah. Yeah.
But for me to wait that long, I mean, I looked at some of the data and they said that. Uh, I don't know how it's true for some people, but some of my homies I can tell
Hmm.
that they smoked since they was like 14, 13,
Hmm.
or even
Hmm.
12. They started
Yeah.
smoking.
Yeah.
And I've seen them without. I'm not
Hmm.
saying your names. I've seen them without. And they're not fun to be around.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because reason why they're not fun to be around because, the weed will help them chill out
Hmm.
and very little when you don't when your friends have been smoking since they were like 12 or 10 years old.
Yeah.
If they have to go like a month, 2 months, 3 months, sometimes
Yeah.
without any weed, it could be the littlest thing,
Hmm.
and it would irritate the shit out of them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like say if like me and you know each other for years, but I've been smoking since I was 10,
Hmm.
but I've been dry for about a month, and you're like,
Hmm.
hey man, what's going? Let's go. Man, I ain't trying to go there, man. You irritate me. You gotta go, bro.
Yeah. Yep. No, for sure. I felt that in myself sometimes. We're good. I see that in myself sometimes where I'm like, I get irritated a little, but then I like bring it back. I'm like, okay, it's just the fucking. I'm not having smoked today. I haven't smoked, whatever.
Yeah,
It's not. It's not actually that big of a deal. It's just me overreacting to it.
yeah,
Yeah, man. I mean, weed is a cool thing. You know, it's not for everybody. I think. I
yeah.
think.
It's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm,
I had a funny situation because weed and edibles
mm-hmm.
are different.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Um, I first time I was eating an edible.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of turned me off them, but I kind of still mess with them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But what really turned me off on them is that sometimes when you get like little small squares and
Mm-hmm.
you kind of feel a little something, but not much.
Mm-hmm.
I fucked around and took a square. The first square I took,
Mm-hmm.
there was two attached to each other, lined up
Oh.
perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I was out of my mind.
Yeah. Oh man, that was your first time taking edibles.
Edibles still more,
Oh
where you don't get a regular high, you get the paranoid high.
yeah,
You're like,
definitely.
I don't think I'm gonna make this. I don't think I'm gonna make it. I don't think I'm gonna make it.
Yeah, yeah. When you're on edibles, you feel like that shit's gonna last all day. You
Yeah,
don't think that shit's gonna go away.
yeah, and it's so intense
Mm-hmm.
at that time when it kicks in that you start getting that when you start getting that paranoid high. That's not fun.
Mm-hmm.
We feel like it's
Yeah,
nice. It just I did too much. I could
you
hear
just in your
everything.
head all and shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. So the Support Your Boy podcast,
yeah,
you said you have your inspirations from Bill Burr to 95 or 85 South.
yeah.
Was there any other inspirations before that? Maybe that maybe you grew up listening to radio, maybe you grew up watching some people that maybe inspired you to become like a creator as well.
Um, when I was DJing, I noticed I'm one of those DJs who like before I started doing the podcasting, I was a DJ who was more likely like give it up for Fabian, you know what I mean? Always had to say something, trying to get the
Okay.
crowd going, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So I'm like, why am I talking? And then somebody goes, bro, you talking too much during the party.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not like the people who were partying, they were loving it,
Mm-hmm.
but somebody who was watching me, I would bring them along, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And I'll like, like for example, I would bring you along and you didn't know how I worked, and the mother was like, "Hey, it's his birthday, we're gonna do the birthday thing, just say, hey, it's Johnny's birthday or something like that."
Mm-hmm.
So I would go, "There you guys, it's that time," and I'll put an effects. It's
Mm-hmm.
Johnny's birthday. Have all kind of like lasers going off and talk. Let
Mm-hmm.
him know. You mess with Johnny. I mean, I always try to hype him up.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
almost like an MC.
Yeah.
But I was always trying to talk whenever they asked me to.
Mm-hmm.
I would give them what they want, almost a little bit more. I'm like, you know what? I kind
Mm-hmm.
of like this, so I kind of want to do kind of radio kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
um, I kind of always wanted to do radio at first,
Mm-hmm.
but uh, you don't really get to say what's on your mind too much on the radio,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
as much as you can on a podcast. When I found out podcasting, you
Mm-hmm.
can say what's on your mind,
Mm-hmm.
and people will actually listen.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they don't listen, to
Yeah.
get that out of your head
Yeah.
is so dope. That's
Yeah.
why I love podcasting.
So yeah, for sure. Because I mean, that's pretty much what podcasting is, radio. But you get to watch it after. You could watch it whenever, and you could just talk about whatever.
Yeah,
That's a
they said that if you look at define what podcasting is, I kind of agree with this and I kind of don't. It's basically uh, radio with no music.
radio with yeah.
That's basically what it is. It's
Mm-hmm.
basically radio with no music.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a podcast is. If you look at the kind of definition,
Yeah.
but and I kind of agree. But I guess I would call mine more of a hybrid because
Mm-hmm.
I will have like background music. Like for example, if we're talking, I'd have like small background music
Mm-hmm.
under it, but it would just be some instrumental background music. It wouldn't be really a lot of like somebody's song with lyrics over it. But
Okay.
majority of things you're gonna be hearing is the audio from the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because it's like you pretty much have to put on a whole show without anybody looking at you.
Exactly.
Like you can't catch their eye. You just gotta catch their attention, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, that's the hardest thing about the podcast is just keeping it consistently entertaining for like the an hour, hour and a half. And back in the day in radio, you were sitting there for 4 or 5 hours, six
Yeah,
hours.
you can just save the best stuff for last.
Mm-hmm.
But I started to notice that because of our short term uh, extension, attention span, I have to whatever. Sometimes I'll like some of the conversations that me and you have had
Mm-hmm.
during our podcast. I'd have to bring the whatever the most funniest, the craziest things. I'll make them clips, or if I could, try to. What I try to do now is make more entertaining stuff
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning of the episode
Yeah.
because I know that for the listener, he go like,
Mm-hmm.
let me check out this dude, what this dude Fabian is. I heard of him
Yeah.
before, and I'll listen to your part, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask a question or a wild question sometimes early
Mm-hmm.
instead of later because
Yeah.
if you look at the YouTube analytics, they start off listening in the beginning
Mm-hmm.
and around 2, 3, 5 minutes in,
Yeah.
that part that's so juicy at the end,
Mm-hmm.
they never even heard it unless they look at the clip.
Yeah, yeah, that's the bad part. Like if you don't catch him in the first, well, that's the thing about a podcast. Like if you catch them for like 30 minutes, then you probably have them for the rest of the podcast
Yeah,
because you're already like, oh fuck, I'm 30 minutes in, I might as well finish the podcast.
yeah, I'm pretty sure if anybody's watching this podcast, whether who know who I am or don't know who I am,
Mm-hmm.
if you got me in the thumbnail, they're gonna probably click on it because first of all, like, who the fuck is this guy in the mask?
Yeah, the
It's the curiosity's gonna catch them,
mm-hmm.
and that kind of what helps me on my podcast
Mm-hmm.
because it's just me talking, but what the hell was the dude with the mask going on?
Yeah.
I get those comments all the time. Take the mask off. What the fuck is going on? This is this. It ain't Halloween, bro.
Yeah. I mean, you're always gonna have those people freaking hating, always
Yeah,
trying to nitpick whatever the hell you do. That's really dope. That's really dope that you found it, later in life. You
uh-huh.
found it a little bit later in life, but you were really like you connected with it and you just rode with it. You're like, let me start doing this.
Yeah, yeah. I was like I said, I've always loved editing.
Hmm.
I know there's a million people way better than me, but as I learned, I like editing and learning how to do a podcast. Especially doing it on your own. You should know this.
Hmm.
It takes a lot of time, and and you want to be as big as the big ones,
Hmm.
but sometimes we don't realize that we're making greatness right now. You're making greatness right now
Hmm.
to where once your episodes turn big, you're gonna be thankful for shit like this
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, Fabian, he always had it. Look at this podcast.
Hmm.
He probably had it. He probably had his own studio and thousands of people watching him in the beginning. No, no, no.
Hmm.
You need to see this.
Hmm.
This is the building blocks, and some people even say probably even the better episodes
Hmm.
now than when you get big and you get your own studio, and making a lot of money. You think that's gonna be all dope. People gonna be want to see this.
Without a doubt, it's like that. You have that drive in the beginning when
Yeah,
you're, trying to get it. But then once you have it, sometimes for a lot of people, they get comfortable and they're like, okay, well, I don't have to put on this spectacular show every time now. I
yeah,
could just give them some mediocrity, and then I'm still gonna get paid. I'm still gonna get the next episode through.
exactly.
But these are all for us. We're doing these all by ourselves. Where no one's expecting us to do them. No one's telling us to do them. It's all just people like them, so we're gonna keep doing them.
Exactly. Because I'm pretty sure you've seen this. There's some podcasters who have the dopest mics, dopest background. The studio looks beautiful,
Hmm.
and the intros is like crazy. You're like, this is dope as fuck.
Hmm.
And it's just the most uh, mediocre conversation
Yeah.
going on. But everything looks so goddamn dope. You think it's going to be the shit the way it
Hmm.
looks. But the conversation is so mediocre. You're like, it looks so dope though.
Yeah.
And I think
Hmm.
that does happen after time,
Hmm.
unless you learn how to way to keep things fresh.
Hmm.
But that's why I kind of like to find new podcasts,
Hmm.
at this stage because
Yeah.
sometimes they're building something. You know what I mean? Like your
Hmm.
podcast, you're building something where you kind of like it's more free form, and
Hmm.
we're able to say with our minds, and like mine. Sometimes I like it to stick to segments,
Hmm.
and that's okay too.
Yeah.
But the fact that your podcast may change
Hmm.
5 years from now, the way you do things.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to appreciate. um this stage, and in the beginning I didn't. I was I
Mm-hmm.
was I was so worried about quality.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would care so much about the background,
Mm-hmm.
and I would care about my mics or fucking uh mics that I would have that you see at a hip hop show. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
have name brand podcasting mics.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the best shit was made out of that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Some of the
exactly.
craziest and the best things that made out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I try to really appreciate that. Same thing. I'm pretty sure you're probably wondering, my shit's not as big as them. Sometimes I have audio issues,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I'll have like the video will not be so clear.
Yeah.
I've learned to embrace that now.
Mm-hmm.
And what helped me do that is because the majors have the same problems
Mm-hmm.
that we have. Like to me, 85 South is the biggest major, right?
Mm-hmm.
Major one. Man, their audio goes out. They have fucking I'm pretty sure you have like certain wires.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have like static because the
Oh
wires
yeah, a little
fucking
hiss or
has a
something.
short into it. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
85 South Show has shorts in their shit all the goddamn time.
Mm-hmm.
The very next time they fix it,
Mm-hmm.
but they still put it up, even
Yeah.
though like you can't hear what the person is saying
Mm-hmm.
or the video. Sometimes the camera will fall to the ground. They still talking. Man,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even put that up. I can't even see the guy,
Yeah.
but you can still hear the audio, or you see the guy
Mm-hmm.
and you can't hear nothing. Like, why would you even put that up? But I
Yeah.
like the rawness. They don't care. They'll still put it up.
Mm-hmm.
But it also makes me feel as a podcaster that
Mm-hmm.
this don't have to be perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Just put it up.
Well, that's the thing about like nowadays it feels like everything's so overproduced, but it's not actually like you're not actually putting thought into it,
Yeah.
especially with music too. Like, you have this fire beat with this fire, voice effects, but they're not talking about nothing. They're talking about the
Exactly,
most
man.
dumb shit, or it even goes for a podcast. You got SM7Bs and you got freaking FX30s all set up and everything's all nice. But then the hosts are just like, so what's up today?
Yeah, exactly.
What's up with Trump? What's up with this? And it's like, it's if it's their art and if that's how they create, then more power to them. If you have the tools to do it, it's not don't use them, but also put more thought into the actual art and into the
Yeah, exactly.
actual.
They more focus on the look of the podcast
Yeah.
than to what's going on in the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that I've definitely noticed that. Like, man, I listen to some podcasts where I'm just like, bro, I'm bored 10 minutes in, or I'm not, you know, y- it's kind of fucked up to say because I have the podcast, and sometimes I tell people like, yeah, sometimes they'll start off a little rough. You start off a little. Like you kind of like it's almost like a fight. You start off kind of like measuring each other. You kind of
Mm-hmm.
like throw your jabs out and kind of like, okay, is this working? This is working. And then once the fight goes in, then they start throwing the overhands and throwing whatever they want to. It's kind of like a podcast. You start off kind of like measuring each other, like, okay, how's this conversation kind of go? How's it gonna flow? And then once you get 20, 30 minutes in, for me, it hits like the peak at like 1 minute 20
Yeah,
around that
yeah.
area, because now you're kind of like, okay, this is just a conversation. This is all we're doing. Whether it being like a interview, like if I'm asking more questions,
Mm-hmm.
or if I'm doing more, just sitting down and talking, like when I do with my homies.
Yeah,
It's like we're kind of iffy in the beginning, but then it starts getting a little better and it starts flowing a little easier.
yeah, yeah. I
How
agree. You ever notice this? Sorry, this
mm,
it's still low related to what you're saying. You
mm,
ever notice that sometimes you see this great looking podcast
mm,
and they ask, "Hey, bro, how's your day going?" And they'll just start rambling about stuff that like, yeah, well, I got myself a pumpkin latte at Starbucks, and
mm,
then I took my dog for a walk. And during the podcast, you're like, man, this is a great looking podcast, and the conversation is going on. And then I went to grab bought myself, a new T-shirt. I think my
yeah,
T-shirt was kind of wrinkled, bro. I just need to get a new one.
yeah,
So you're like, what am I listening to? I
yeah,
mean, I understand you want to kind
mm,
of kind of catch up with the guy because you know who the person is. But if
yeah,
that new person is coming in to check out your podcast,
mm,
and it's okay to ramble. I think it's
mm,
okay to ramble,
mm.
but if it's like a run-on ramble,
Yeah, when you're just trying to fill in things to say, pretty
yeah,
much. Like, oh, well, what's that name of that coffee that I drank? No, it's not this. It's not. I'm like, bro, just get to the point. Okay, you don't remember your coffee. let's keep the conversation going.
Yeah,
It has to
exactly.
be a direction that we're moving into. We can't just be talking about, oh man, my dog was a little sick today, and it's like, no, okay, since when did you get your dog? Get a little more deep into it.
Right, right, right. I like to get into the mind of, why did you do that? Because if it relates to me,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've done that before. Yeah, I feel what you're saying. That's kind of the meat of the podcasting. Where I like to, for example,
Mm-hmm.
um, getting back into the music portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a music producer, so I
Yeah.
also produce music with a lot of artists like Mr. Lewis.
Mm-hmm. Shout out,
Me and
Mr.
him
Lewis.
have two albums out,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I have my own music out, and if I'm recording, I like to ask questions that's especially to rappers or singers.
Mm-hmm.
When I write my music or work on some music, this is how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? Do you do the same thing? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they'll be different, way different. Like, oh, that's dope. Maybe I should try that.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I was talking to this one artist, and one of my questions was, in today's world, do you write your song lyrics on a pen and pad, or do
Mm-hmm.
you use the cell phone?
Yeah.
Right? So most people would say cell phone. Some people say pen and pad. They don't want to screw with
Mm-hmm.
the cell phone because you can lose it that way or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But one person was really creative, and they said, "Hey, what I use is like a transcribing app. So they'll like
Oh, okay.
freestyling,
Mm-hmm.
and it will just write it out. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And they'll just save it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was creative as hell.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you get to learn how people would kind of behind the scenes and how they make their songs together. Or even, I like to ask, hey, Pravy, when you made that song called My World's Upside Down, what the hell were you talking about? You talking about the movie Stranger Things? You're like, nah, bro. My girl left me, and now everything's upside down. Well, we never would have known
Mm-hmm.
about that until that conversation was had.
Yeah, so you like to get into like the reasoning and the thought behind something. It's not just like, oh, what do you have coming out? Okay, and then you just kind of move on. You want to know what that story behind is, the process behind
Yeah,
certain
exactly.
stuff.
You may have a song called "That Shit's Crazy." What shit's crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Life is crazy when you think about this, but you're not really
Mm-hmm.
explaining it.
Yeah.
But now I got you down here in the
Mm-hmm.
podcast. What does this song really mean? Because my homie thought you said that shit's crazy. You talking about the government, or that shit's crazy. I'm thinking you talking about the President Trump. You just talking about that shit's crazy in real life about uh,
Some shit
you
happened
know
with you and your girl, or
yeah, or your
with your
job just
yeah,
fired you for nothing.
yeah,
We got the story all wrong. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But
literally.
we can get the real. You never. I'm pretty sure everybody's had a song. But
Mm-hmm.
you love the song, but you don't know exactly what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah, yeah. I was just thinking about this. I don't know. This is so random, but have you heard that song, the Peanut Butter Jelly Time?
Yeah.
That one, I was just telling my girls, like, I wonder what the fuck they were doing that made them just sit down and be like, we're gonna make a fucking song about peanut butter jelly, or fucking, what the hell does this bar with a baseball bat? What does that even mean?
Right.
What is the story behind that?
Exactly. That's why we have these podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can interview that guy,
Mm-hmm.
what the fuck are you talking about? He can give us the real story. Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure you have your idea what it is, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody else has an idea. Hey, he really means that. No one really knows
Mm-hmm.
unless you get him on a podcast and explain it. That's why I love podcasting.
Yeah. No, that's really dope. I think that's what every podcaster should be doing. It's not to get these, clips and to get these little moments of fame or whatever. It's just because you want to find shit out. You want to
Yeah,
find
yeah.
out how the fuck it
What's
works.
the mind behind
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing? You know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
because you want to copy. It's just like you're like, why the hell would you do that?
Yeah.
Go on a podcast and you can find out why he would do that. And I think that's dope
Mm-hmm.
that you can able to do that. Not only that, if it's relatable,
Yeah.
to your life,
Mm-hmm.
it means much more to you.
Well, that's you know, it's part of being a podcast host is like really listening to the person and
Yeah,
really, understanding what they're trying to say and
exactly.
what they're conveying. And sometimes it's a little bit more difficult for people.
Hmm.
So asking those questions, asking those because there's certain guests where you give them a question and they could talk for 30, 40 minutes, they could talk for 10, 15 minutes, whatever. But then there's those that, like, they have a lot of things to say, but they just don't know how to get it out. So you got to
Yeah,
ask more questions. You got to ask, oh, okay, so what did were you thinking of this? And then they're like, oh shit, I didn't even think about it like that. Yeah, that's how I
yeah.
was thinking about it.
Yeah,
Mm,
sometimes you will find out things in a podcast that they've never told in an interview on someone else or in their music, or they're not even doing music. It can
mm,
be in actors
mm,
and things like that. Like for example, I was talking to my homie Buddy Ramen. Shout out Buddy Ramen.
mm,
He worked on the set of um, The Matrix 4,
mm.
right?
Yeah.
And he was saying that, I was like, man, movies look like it's like a well-oiled machine, and everything looks so dope. He goes, man, that shit is fucked up in the background. Y'all don't know what the
Mm,
fuck is going on. He goes, man, there's people getting injured. There's people, they're writing the stories
yeah.
as, as they're making it. And, oh,
Mm,
you don't want to do that? Let me rewrite it. You know what I
mm.
mean? You think they got everything prepared in the beginning.
Yep.
Nah, bro.
Without a
But
doubt.
until you talk to these people, you don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
You just see the movie, you're like, oh, they must have planned this and made this perfect from the jump. Nah, man.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you know, they're writing as they go.
Yeah.
Trying to make sense of it, or they'll make so many changes. It's like you're like, what were they doing in this part of the movie?
Mm-hmm.
They just wrote it in. You know what I mean? They got to fill the time. So
Sometimes those are the best parts in the movie too.
yeah,
And when you have those random, improvised or, on the spot, it's yeah, because I had me my friend is a videographer, cinematographer. He does
yeah,
like films and stuff. So I've been on a few sets, helping him out. Been on my own sets, just kind of like helping people out. And it's definitely like the biggest thing when you're all together with them, everybody will like admit to it. They're like, we have no idea what the fuck is going on.
right,
We're on the fly just like everyone else because it's all of these different creatives trying to get one thing created.
yeah,
So many different ideas, so many thoughts. Like, okay, maybe, okay, for one person the camera might look good like right here, but for another person it looks good right here. So it's really just like, okay, this is the plan. We're gonna work around it. We could, add some stuff into it, but we're just gonna, this is like our outline,
yeah,
our direction that we're trying to go into. But, through the process, and it's for anything. We're talking about movies, but it could be anything. It could be a podcast. It could be a song. Sometimes, some songs you don't plan to do something and then you like feel something like, wait, let me spit this real quick, let me spit this chorus a little different, and then it comes out way cooler because it just came from that moment of inspiration.
yeah. But I always thought that movies were like so set in stone, and then
Mm,
the director goes, okay, you're gonna be doing this, you're gonna be doing that, and then it all just works out. You don't realize that sometimes people will get hurt, and
mm,
or they some person like, hey man, I'm not coming in, I'm sick, so they got to
mm,
change the whole story.
yeah.
It could have went a whole different way, but
Hmm.
they made it work. Sometimes they just throwing shit against the wall, just like the rest of us.
Yeah, exactly, just like life.
Yeah,
You plan some shit out and then all of a sudden something gets thrown in the wall, someone backs out of it, and now you gotta think of another way to do it.
yeah,
So like this is my like biggest question. Like whenever I have anybody on here that's like creating or and I classify it as art
uh huh,
because you're an artist. You're making something for people to enjoy.
yes.
Um, have you thought about using AI?
Oh yes, and I have used AI.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to podcasting, for example, when you try to transcribe some of your stuff, even the episode
Mm-hmm.
that I have with you,
Mm-hmm.
what I do is to kind of save time. It
Mm-hmm.
costs me a little money, but it saves time. What I use use a gift for you here.
Mm-hmm.
Taja AI. You ever heard of it?
Taja. Mm-hmm.
Taja
Mm-hmm.
AI. What it does is takes your podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
You basically, say what you do is you put your podcast up on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put it public. Put it under unlisted,
Mm-hmm.
and then you take that link that you share into Taja AI. What it'll do is it will come up with the title of your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Which you can change. You can keep saying, uh, "Give me another one. Give me another one." You can change the
Yeah.
podcast episode name. It does like, hey, this is Fabian for In the Cloud podcast, and it'll explain. We talked to DJ Lyon Head about this, that, this, that. It'll do it all for you.
Yeah.
It even does the chapters, so chapter pieces like intro.
Mm-hmm.
You usually do that yourself, but
Yeah.
Intelligent AI will do that.
Mm-hmm.
It even will come up with its own, what it thinks is a viral thumbnail of me
Mm-hmm.
and you conversating.
Yeah.
All that for like the price of like like $14.99 a month.
Hmm.
So it even makes clips, but the clips is not as good as Opus Clip.
Yeah, Opus Clip is like the go to right now.
Yeah, Opus Clip is the go-to. But
Hmm.
I'm starting to stop Opus Clip because I'm pretty goddamn good at doing it myself.
Yeah.
Like your
Hmm.
clips you see with like the purple lettering, that
Hmm.
was me. That was an
Hmm.
Opus Clip. So I'm trying to I'm starting to learn from these AI clips.
Hmm.
I mean, apps as I'm learning to use them,
Hmm.
I'm seeing what they're good at, and I'm
Hmm.
kind of incorporating it for my own editing skills.
Yeah, that's what I've been really trying to like battle. Is because like I like the AI because it's a lot of time saving.
It is
It's
time saving like hell.
super like you know uh just looking through your podcast and trying to figure out what time from what time are you talking about this part takes
Hmm.
up so much time that you could be doing more ideas or releasing shorts. So it's really a time thing where you're trying to find as much time to edit the videos and
Right.
stuff, and AI just fucking flies through it. But then you do lose that quality, right? that
Yeah.
that your own spin to stuff, that maybe that's why you started it.
Hmm.
That's for me when I was like, that's the battle I have in my head where I'm like, this is my podcast, this is what I want to do. So if I'm using AI, then I'm kind of cheating the system. But I had to bring it back and be like, this saved me so much more time. So now I could put effort into the actual things that I really want to, like the maybe the angles or the the audio and stuff.
Yeah.
Things that really matter into it instead of spending all that time editing and cutting it down. But I still love that part. I still love editing and I still love cutting back to angles. Oh, this part was so funny. Cutting back to this other person's face.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like it too because when you kind of do it in your own, you sometimes the AI will miss something that was so important
Mm.
during the podcast because
Mhm.
they're so worried on, oh, he said this because it's viral,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
sometimes you go with it, but
Mhm.
it's not what you know is the meat of the podcast, the
Yeah.
meat of the episode, or the most funniest part, or the
Mhm.
most craziest thing he said. Sometimes they'll miss it.
Mhm.
But they'll just talk about, hey, he mentioned something about Bill Burr,
Mhm.
and that's gonna be
Yeah.
viral. And
Mhm.
what about the stuff we were saying earlier about music and things of
Mhm.
that nature?
Yeah.
It may miss that. So
Yeah.
that's why you want to learn how to edit yourself
Mhm.
because you know what some of the best parts of your podcast episode. So sometimes AI will catch it,
Mhm.
sometimes it won't. The good part about it though is that like for example in your episode, I have to still do my editing because they'll say Fabian Sanchez, right? But they'll
Mhm.
spell Fabian with a Y.
Mm. Oh yeah, yeah,
And you're like, bro, it's not how you
yeah.
spell it. So you got to go fix it yourself.
Yeah, there's definitely those moments like the captions won't exactly catch, especially if it's like a word that's not like a formal word.
Yeah.
You say a hella or what's up, it will change it like to their standard or
Yeah, it'll
whatever.
say hello instead of
Yeah.
hella.
Or it will do like like I hate these the Instagram one because it
Yeah.
it it beeps out the curse words.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, bro, I don't like they know what the fuck I said. I didn't say fucking beep beep beep. You could hear me saying shit 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 all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that I've been talking a lot about of how AI is kind of like killing that creativeness,
Yeah,
you
because
know?
it's basically making cookie cutter versions of whatever you put out. I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, it does help, though, when it comes to clips
Mhm.
and getting things done in the background that takes a long time. Because usually that will be done by somebody else.
Mhm.
I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure before AI was doing what it does now, there was always you had a team of people that you
Mhm.
trusted to do that kind of stuff for you
Yeah.
that you had to pay for. But now you no longer have to
Mhm.
with AI. So in
You pay a
some
small
ways that's
fee.
good, but in some ways that's bad because you just killed a lot of people's jobs.
Mhm.
But sometimes it's good because they're not. Well, I wouldn't say they're not really complaining. I need some more money.
Mhm.
Well, that's not true because every year, like, hey, I know you're paying $14.99 for Opus Clip.
Mhm.
We're now accepting $9.99, $19.99
Mhm.
due to the taxes, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So it's kind of the same, but uh,
Yeah. I mean, it's for sure taking away a lot of people's jobs and a lot of those tasks that sometimes you just have one person that goes through your podcast and listens to it through and tells you what they think about it.
Yeah,
Now you don't need that. You just get an AI and then it'll tell you, oh, this part is not that good. This part is better than that part, and this leads up to this. So it's taking that one step that you have to take to make a podcast
uh-huh.
and taking it away from that person, or
Yeah,
stopping it from happening.
yeah, yeah. So there's some pluses and minuses when it comes to AI. I still love it because people are shocked that I'm able to put out as many podcasts as fast as I do, or like your podcast, I got the whole thing done
Hmm.
in like 2 days
Yeah,
when it should have
it
took
was
me a
done.
week.
It was like it was out by you had we did the live on Thursday,
Yeah,
and I believe you posted like Saturday morning.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and I'm talking about I had the whole thing transcribed,
Hmm.
the chapters, the tags.
Hmm.
Um, some of the clips were used from the Opus clip,
Hmm.
but most of those clips were done by me.
Yeah. Well, that's something that I've seen too. Is like it. You could take that Opus clip and then do your own things to it.
Yeah, yeah. So I saw what they saw was important. So, but then there was some things that we had said, we had mentioned,
Hmm.
which was hilarious when we mentioned the possibility of you getting an ad revenue
Oh,
from Japanese
the sex doll.
sex
Yeah.
doll, and how would you handle that situation? That one really good.
Yeah.
It did really good. You put it on the YouTube short, and people like that one.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. But that's the thing that sucks about the AI. It's that it's starting to control what is being outputted as well.
Yeah,
So maybe you talk about this controversial thing, or maybe you're speaking down on AI, and it doesn't pick that up because it's not meant to. It's
right.
programmed to. We're not gonna talk about this, and it becomes dangerous in that way because you start getting those biases
Yeah,
with. I don't like to bring up politics, but the left and the right, and maybe some religion. You talk about some religious stuff, and it starts cutting that out
yeah.
because you don't want it doesn't want that to be talked about as much.
Exactly. That's why learning to do some editing is so important for yourself
Hmm.
because if it's going to cut back and you're like, no, this is a really good piece of the podcast they need to know,
Hmm.
but the AI is like, no, we will not talk about that. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
you're like, man, this
So
needs to be said.
you talk a lot about editing. Were you editing stuff before, like the 2020 hit, or were you?
Yeah, I was
Oh.
um I was like I said, I'm a music producer,
Hmm.
so I put out albums.
Hmm.
I put out I was always I started as a beat maker.
Hmm.
I've always stayed from the beginning. I was
Yeah.
a rapper turned beat maker, and I want to
Okay.
be and then as from a beat maker to start producing songs, and I started to notice I was getting really good at that.
Hmm.
And then I started putting out albums, then started doing album covers, put on my friends together. We got several albums of several of my people,
Hmm.
and they started noticing like, bro, you in here working on my fucking voice
Hmm.
for like um for a long ass time.
Hmm.
For example, I know I'm this is my little brother.
Hmm.
So when my brother ever hears this, he gonna get pissed off at me for saying this.
It's all good. We
He's
we probably
not
said a
really
lot of things that piss people off
yeah,
already.
he's not a very strong rapper,
Hmm.
but he wanted to be on this song. I did with my homie Supreme,
Hmm.
Supreme Fire. We did this song way back in like 2004,
Mm.
2005,
Okay.
and it's called "You Would Die." Now I had my verse done
Mm.
in about my done in about an 45 minutes to an hour.
Mm.
He had his done because he's a better rapper than me in like 30 or 40
Your homie.
minutes, right? But my little brother
Hmm.
is not a rapper, but he wanted to be in the song.
Hmm.
So he started to write his song. It was hour and 15 minutes, and he only got like maybe 3 or 4 bars. And it was only a 12 bar verse.
Hmm.
And we had to help him write his song.
Hmm.
And it took him to record that song, to where it's record the song, not just editing, just getting him to say it right.
Hmm.
I knew I was good. Editing was for me is
Hmm.
because it took 3 hours to record 12 bars.
Yeah.
3 hours.
So you enjoy that process of it being
Yeah,
made.
dude. I'm willing to take that long to
Hmm.
get your shit right. Once I realize I'm willing to, if I really want to do it,
Hmm.
I will take 3 hours of just editing.
Mm.
back and forth, cutting, slicing,
How?
making,
Yeah. Which one
raising
looks
voice.
better?
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's how I knew it was good for editing. It was like, because most people most producers like, what? Motherfucker took 3 hours to do 12 bars. I ain't got
Mm-hmm.
time for that. I do.
Yeah. That's definitely different because a lot of people do just want that product out. They don't really mind. They don't really think about that creation process behind
Yeah,
it. Which I mean, for some people it works. Some people they work fast and they're able to create something right away. It might not be super creative, but that's
yeah,
their art. But I'm very much like you, where I like to enjoy the process and like,
yeah.
okay, if you got to spit it again, if you didn't feel that bar, then go back and spit it again, or
Nothing is more exciting than
yeah,
seeing a great product done after you fucking did it.
mm-hmm,
You know what I mean? You're like, oh, this is gonna be dope. If I can get this thing right, and you get it done. You look back at it, you're like, oh shit,
yep.
this is so dope.
You start listening back to the song like, oh, that shit's so fire.
Yeah, and to know that you fucking did it,
Mm-hmm,
man.
mm-hmm,
So and I love that about the making music, and I made some great music with people, and
mm-hmm,
I'm still doing that. I'm still, of course, producing music,
mm-hmm,
and that's how I knew that I was made for not only for editing music and hip hop and R&B,
mm-hmm,
and even in house music or even lo-fi,
mm-hmm,
but when it comes to podcasting, I could probably get people to help me out.
mm-hmm.
But if they just change their mind and say, "Nah, I'm good," I got my own, doing my own thing, I'll
Yeah,
be just fine.
yeah. That's the hardest part about this industry is that you don't really know who's really serious about this shit.
That's so true.
Yeah. Cause you could like, I've had so many people, oh bro, you do podcasts, man. I've been wanting to do a podcast for a minute. Let me hop on your podcast. I'm like, okay, bet, let's get a podcast going. I hit them up a week later. Hey bro, I got a few days, let's do the podcast. Damn man, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. I'm like, bro, we're not, if you're not serious, then I'm just gonna move on. I'm gonna keep, creating, I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
doing my own thing. But, there's so many people that are just saying it just to kind of like, almost to be not cool but like just to kind of get that like the sense that they could do it as well,
Yeah.
which is they can, anybody could do this
Oh
shit,
yeah, they
anybody can sit
can.
down a fucking camera and just talk. It just takes that first step, that first action.
Yeah, and that people are that's the main thing they're afraid to do. You're able to do it, but it doesn't mean that they have the. I don't want to say that they don't have the guts because anybody
Hmm.
can do it, but
Yeah, it's not like we're going to war over here, fucking risking our lives. We're just sitting in a camera.
yeah, exactly. But the fact to take that action means a lot to me
Hmm.
because a lot of people say, "Man, I could just start a podcast and it's gonna be way doper than yours, way doper than yours."
Hmm.
Okay, okay, let me see. But
Exactly.
money ain't right yet, bruh. Or, you know,
Exactly. I don't
yeah,
got too much time,
yeah, yeah.
but
I ain't got time like that. Be wasting. Oh, now it's wasting time. Come on.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I like when people are more serious into podcasting, and I could tell this. Like I said this on my homie Buddy Rami. How do I judge who I want to interview or not?
Mm-hmm.
I watch your post, and does it relate to um what you if you're posting, like if an artist, does their music relate to how they post? For example,
Mm-hmm.
um if you got a song out that you made in 2013
Mm-hmm.
and another one in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and then now you want to be on a podcast talking about it,
Yeah. Yeah.
consistency is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying I only mess with people who's consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of am, but
Mm-hmm.
um,
You don't want just people who are doing it for like that. That I mean, it's a hobby. People it starts off as a hobby, but it's like they're not actually doing it to be part of the process.
right, I don't see
They're
you building. I'm
yeah.
building something
Mm-hmm.
um, from the ground up. And and what I'm doing and what you're doing may be small in their minds,
Mm-hmm.
but you're building something big. But
Mm-hmm.
if you got a song in 2013, you dropped another one in 2019, and
Mm-hmm.
you ain't got shit else,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, you may maybe has happened, maybe life is lifing for
Mm-hmm.
you, but the consistency of you trying to build,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing it, so I'm not gonna go talk to that person for an interview. But
Yeah.
if I see somebody do something, drop something in 2020, 2022, 2023,
Mhm.
and then four times in 2024,
Mhm.
let's talk, bro.
Yeah,
You got something. You trying to build something.
for sure.
I'm trying to build something. Let's get this
Yeah.
podcast going.
That's definitely like cuz there is those, I keep using the word artist. I just use artist for everybody. I don't say like artist, musician. It's just a rapper or anything.
Yeah,
Anybody who's creating out there is an artist to me. Um, with artists, sometimes we do have those moments where you start doubting yourself, or you start
yeah,
doubting what the fuck you're actually doing. Like, damn, I'm just doing a podcast. No one's looking at me. No one's paying attention to it. So you start slowing down. But then you start getting those rushes of motivations. You gotta just keep building, even when you're not feeling that, oh, I need to create something.
yeah,
Those are the moments where you just gotta sit down, make a podcast, make music or whatever.
yeah. I agree. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. My biggest key to success, to me,
Hmm.
is consistency.
Yeah.
It is the biggest key to success.
Hmm.
Even if you're doing something whack, I'm
Hmm.
sorry. Even if you do something whack, if you stay consistent, sooner or later people are gonna see your shit.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to podcasting.
Hmm.
Like um, in the beginning, nobody paid attention. Nobody wanted to be a guest on my show
Hmm.
uh, at all. It's getting. I'm not saying I'm not trying to big willy things, but
Hmm.
now sometimes I don't even go looking for guests.
Hmm.
They come to me
Yeah.
because of the consistency.
Hmm.
They're like, hey, look, he's putting this person's out. He just dropped an album and he
Hmm.
got some extra promotion because he was on this podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So some people have seen it, and I love the fact when I love it when people call me to be
Hmm.
on my podcast because uh, it's another version of them um, showing me that they're trying to build.
Yeah.
They see me building something. Let's
Hmm.
build something together.
Hmm.
Let's make an episode. So
You don't
and I
just
love it.
like you don't. They're not just expecting you to hit them up.
Right?
Yeah, kind of like how kind of connected. You had commented on the God Mode podcast,
Yeah.
and then I think I seen your story. I think you had posted like, who's down to do a podcast, and I was like, right away. I knew right away. I was like, I'm gonna swipe up, and I got to at least put that motion forward,
Yeah.
because if not, then it's just gonna be like, oh, I'm just gonna wait for this dude to like tell me, hey, you trying to be on the podcast, and that's what people are afraid of a lot too. That rejection of being like told, no, no, I don't want you on the podcast,
I
or
got told no.
yeah.
There's sometimes you would sometimes I'm pretty sure I don't know if you've done this
Mm,
when you ask to be on a somebody to be on your podcast you would
mm,
kind of like shoot higher. Sometimes you got to shoot,
yeah,
even though it's like I'm not gonna get this person,
yeah.
but you got to try to shoot, bro. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, one person I wanted to get on a podcast and I can still work with them. Like my main number one person I want to get on my podcast. And I'm gonna still shoot for him
Mm-hmm.
today, or in this year, I should say, is Funk Beta. If I don't know who the hell is Funk Beta.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the beats that Brother Lynch Hung um, was working with during the time of the album Loaded, which is my favorite album.
Mm-hmm.
Funk Beta made like I think 99% of all those beats.
Mm-hmm. Oh shit.
Maybe Lynch made some of them too,
Mm-hmm.
but Funk Beta meant so much to me because as a beat maker,
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to find my sound, and first I was thinking about doing some Dr. Dre shit because everybody was doing. Dr. Dre was the biggest rapper, I mean, the beat maker in the '90s.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was Funk Beta because in the '90s I always wanted to move to Sacramento because that Loaded album meant so much to me. But I had no
Mm-hmm.
reason to move.
Yeah.
Of course, I got me and my girl. We wanted to move out of our mom's house at the age 21,
Mm-hmm.
and the most albums I was like, oh, somebody go to Sacramento. I was like so juiced
Mm-hmm.
because my favorite rapper, Brother Chung,
Mm-hmm.
is from Sacramento. Oh, the chance to be out here. So,
Yeah.
and Funk Beta's out there. So it meant so much to me. So, but when I was developing when getting into beats, I was making dark beats like he makes.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to copy his style, and I know I couldn't because he's a damn good piano player. He has almost like a jazz type piano, but his
Okay.
his piano playing is insane.
Mm-hmm.
No one's matching him, and he had his own sound. Biggest question I wanted to ask him is, um, Well, biggest question I want to talk to him about. Did you know that at that time when the album Loaded came out, Sacramento had its own sound that sounded like nobody
Mm-hmm.
in the world, and it was strictly off of. To me, it was a way he used the bass.
Mm.
He used these certain kind of bass lines that no one's ever used.
Yeah.
If you look into the Loaded album and the way he uses bass line, no one was ever using it. To me, it was called the Sacramento sound. Because everybody
Okay.
like, Sacramento, they ain't got no sound. They like the Bay Area. No, no, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, no. Back in that time, they had a sound, and I wanted to talk to him about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I shot for him, and he said yes,
Mm-hmm.
but his time didn't work out. But then I also wanted to get in contact to with I shot for of course Birdless Hung. He didn't respond yet. So like I said, sometimes you got to shoot, and sometimes you be surprised. For example,
Mm-hmm.
um, I took a shot for the number one guy who was a controversy in street beefs was a guy named Death Sentence.
Yeah. That sentence.
That was just me shooting,
Mm-hmm.
and the motherfucker said yes,
Yeah.
and I was like, yeah, this is not true.
Yeah.
And then he fucking we went on Instagram Live, boom, had that pause. Sometimes you just gotta shoot.
Yeah.
A lot of times you're gonna get no. I know Brother Chung. Maybe one day I'll get an interview with him. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Same thing with Funk Beta, but it don't hurt to shoot sometimes.
Without a doubt, it's for me. I still struggle with that sometimes, just because it being like, oh, okay, well, maybe I should just wait for the time to be right for it to be a little bit bigger, and then this person will kind of consider it more.
Yeah,
You start rationalizing, but sometimes you just gotta shoot the shot. You gotta shoot
yeah,
it, and then if it doesn't go in, then shit, just keep going.
yeah. Exactly. I'm still shooting at some of these big names.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And some of them was one of them. Which was uh, it was I see who's another one I shot after recently, and I didn't get shot down, but I got kind of like a maybe. It was um it was First Degree. First Degree.
Hmm.
He was also a part of the album Loaded, and
Hmm.
he his sound is just anyway.
It's yep.
First Degree was I saw him on 360 Radio. Shout out 360 Radio and Mickey.
Hmm.
Um, and then right as he finished that, he was gonna. I said, hey, well, I'd love you to be on my podcast. And then he was like saying, right now I'm being a little too busy, but
Hmm.
maybe we can revisit this some other day.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you're a little busy. What are
Hmm.
you talking about? Then 2 days later,
Hmm.
I saw him on Holden Court, which is
Mm.
in L.A. or
Oh,
something
huh.
like that. Okay, makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
he wasn't lying to me. He was really busy, going on other podcasts.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes you just gotta shoot, bro, and it fucking works out. Sometimes it doesn't, but that shouldn't.
It don't hurt. It
It
don't
don't hurt
hurt.
to shoot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, it's cool that the people that that are on your podcast, you are a fan of them, or you're a fan of their art, and you're a
Yeah,
fan of what they do, so you would just want to know more.
yeah,
That's pretty much what your podcast is, like just figuring out the nooks and the crannies of what happened with that, either a project or a video that they may have did, a fight,
yeah.
street beefs. What goes through your head when you're going in that fucking ring?
Yeah, exactly. I always want to know that because if I was that kind of person, but I think that way, I
Hmm.
don't know. So I'll find out his information.
Definitely, man. So what are the plans for the podcast this year? Or you have
Um,
any?
One big plan is I talked to Death Sentence, and
Okay.
he's actually from North Carolina. He always fights in Virginia, which is the main place for street beefs.
Okay.
But they have a West Coast
Mm.
street beefs that takes place in Vegas and Phoenix. I told him if he showed up in Vegas, I'm going. So
Yeah.
one of my big goals is actually to meet Death Sentence,
Yeah.
go live,
Mm.
and have podcasts and interview the fighters before they fight. I'm
Oh.
not gonna do an interview when they finish, when they win or lose.
Mm.
Maybe when they win, but I don't like interviewing people when they lose because
Yeah.
I
You
don't
know
want to
what's
fuck
going
with
through
their
their head and shit.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But to interview them before, that's dope as hell.
Yeah.
and maybe, and in fact, they can go live with them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What's your mind before you go to this fight, man? I'm like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then if they win and like you want to talk about it, if they do, hell yeah, I told you I was gonna win. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
that's dope as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if I get people who actually I've had on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's gonna be great for their fans. So I
Definitely.
plan to do that for 2025. Um, Definitely. Like I said, another thing I'm gonna be doing is bringing back people who've been on the podcast, i.e., Fabian Sanchez. You probably get another episode out of
Yeah.
him
Thank you,
for
sir.
2025. So I like to go back to other artists and yeah, I'm just planning on trying to go after people and shoot my shot at people you didn't expect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm getting to that point now. I want to start shooting my shot for people who they didn't expect, and you know, and other things. So yeah, so it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great year for Support Your Boy because I'm gonna upgrade my stuff. Tax time is coming.
Yeah.
And you know
Definitely.
what I mean? And one of my big goals for tax time is first of all, take care of my family,
Mm-hmm.
make sure my house and my family's cool. And after that, I'm investing into the podcast.
Yeah. That's it's definitely it's gonna be a process, but it's a process that we're all gonna go through. I think.
Yeah, I want that
Wh-
roadcaster,
Yeah,
goddamn
yeah,
it.
that roadcaster, that shit's sue. That shit's like it's like the Cadillac of
Yeah, podcasting.
podcasting.
Yeah,
Well, I'm excited to see the growth of the podcast community here in Sacramento. So
yeah.
we could definitely have, if people are really serious about podcasting. They're I always tell people like if you want a podcast and you're really serious about it, hit me up and we'll definitely start making some shit happen. It's not that hard. It's
Hell yeah. Oh, last thing I want to talk to you about is me and my homie from Cadillac James,
mm-hmm,
aka Old Heads and Young Bulls podcast out there in Stockton. What we want to kind of try to do, we've been talking about trying to create like a almost like a podcast union
mm-hmm,
where we get
yeah,
all the kind of the Northern California underground podcasts
mm-hmm,
and kind of like do things as far as like almost like a podcast retreat
mm-hmm,
where we can go live almost like streamers
yeah,
where we can go like in like the building that we were at,
mm-hmm,
hey, I'm live from In the Cloud podcast. We sitting there talking to this
yeah,
podcast. You know what I mean? So we kind of do things,
mm-hmm,
whether it's hilarious or even I don't give a damn. It's
yeah.
podcaster karaoke night.
Oh
You
yeah,
know what I mean? Just do
definitely.
shit, and we live stream that
Mm-hmm,
shit. As far as other podcasters, so we all have content to
mm-hmm.
my bad.
I know you're good.
We all have content together. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So kind of like like they do in New York. Sometimes they go on retreats and get content from doing something like somebody jumped in the river or something like that.
Yeah,
So I
no.
thought that was dope that the
Mm-hmm,
podcasters stick together, almost like the comedians.
mm-hmm.
How they kind of all go out and do things.
Yeah,
There's no reason why us podcasters can't do that.
yeah, definitely. I think that's the thing with like artists and like with any like acting or whatever. There's always a scene behind that person. Sometimes like
Yeah,
you had that I always say Eminem, but Eminem, he came up in that group and it was that community that was kind of building up in the Detroit area or wherever they were rapping, and that's kind of what everyone goes through when you're trying to grow. You build a community with the people around you.
yeah, yeah. For example, I think it would be dope as hell. Is like if an underground artist, 'cause you know how in music,
Hmm.
Spotify and the record labels are taking up so much of the pie for streaming
Hmm.
to where I don't know if most people notice who are not artists as far as the music that when you try to support your friend who has stuff on Spotify, he's gonna he doesn't get a
Hmm.
penny until he gets 1,000 streams.
Yeah.
So unless you're gonna play his song 1,000 times in a row in a month,
Hmm.
you're not helping him. I mean, you think you are.
Hmm.
I mean, officially, realistically, you're really not helping just by playing his song.
Yeah.
But you are, but you aren't. You're still a
Hmm.
piece of it.
Hmm.
But until he hits 1,000
Hmm.
streams, he's not gonna see anything,
Yeah.
which kind of sucks. So, but not only that, it costs so much money for advertising their stuff.
Hmm.
I think it's so dope that we have podcasting. So it's another source of to advertise, underground artists' music.
Yeah.
So I think it would be dope as hell. Like, say for example, Mr. Lewis has an album, and then he can go on a podcast tour. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to In the Clouds. I'm going to Old Head. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to Support Your Boy. That's constantly telling people about the album.
Yeah.
People are like, on so many podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta check this album out. Why can't we do this for more independent artists?
Yeah, definitely. That's like how
We
pretty
could be a
much
part of their promotion.
that's how the comedians do it almost. Like
Exactly.
with the big name comedians, they'll make their rounds inside of the podcast the podcast groups. They'll go to Joe Rogan and they'll go to Andrew Schultz and then they'll go to Theo Vaughn, whoever, and they'll get those they're advertising out through these podcasts.
Yeah.
Letting people know, oh, I got this project coming out. And yeah, that actually sounds like a really well planned out idea because it does require a lot of pieces to move at the same time and have everyone in coordination, but it would only help everybody by just let the ability to get content out.
Yeah. So if you're out there and you're a rapper, singer, whatever you are, and you show up on Support Your Boy podcast, show up and do a tour, bro. Go end up on In the Clouds podcast, Zood podcast, also from Sacramento. There's
Foodcast, yeah.
so many I can mention
Mm,
that in Sacramento or in Stockton. Start going on these tours
mm,
because it's a great way to get your music shared. You know what I mean?
mm.
And you're not even really paying.
Yeah.
I'm not charging to get on my pod.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure you're not paying. If you're having a conversation,
Yeah.
you know
Mm,
what I mean. It's a great way to get to advertise your music or what you got going on. Just
mm,
go on a tour. Hey,
mm,
look, I just had Mr. Lewis. Like you had Mr. Lewis. He's got
mm.
a new album dropping.
Yeah.
And that's right. If he did yours, he did mine. He should
Mm.
be going on more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think we should be a part of the underground promotional team for artists because it's getting tougher and tougher to get support out there.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Through podcasts, it helps the artist and the podcast because now the fans of the artist are going to the podcast. The fans of the podcast now just discovered a whole new artist.
Yeah, and you hear some dope ass music.
Yeah.
That's the mind frame
Hmm.
that I want to try to push for 2025.
It kind of reminds me of radio. How radio
Exactly.
used to do it back in the day. They had different radio stations. That artists would go onto the radio station, have a little interview for 5-10 minutes, and then they would play their song, they play their album, and it
Yeah.
was that form of advertising. But not as many people are listening to the radio now. So what's the future of radio podcast? So maybe that's the step that we need to take to have those people coming in.
Hell yeah. My homie from Old Head the Young Bulls podcast in
Mm-hmm.
Stockton, he asked me your information. I sent it to him. So
Oh yeah,
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be probably contacting you on
yeah,
Instagram, DMing you,
yeah,
and see what dates you have available. So
definitely,
we should be doing the same thing for our podcast,
yeah.
going on each other's,
We should
sharing.
be well, honestly like a group chat would be really helpful, where
Hell yeah,
everyone kind of
and we
knows.
can share guests,
Yeah.
ideas,
Mm-hmm.
even come up with better ideas. Like, oh, should you do that?
Mm-hmm.
That's a better idea than what I had. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The same thing about another person. He didn't know how to do this, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. And sometimes you think of stuff that doesn't really fit your podcast. You
exactly.
think like, oh, this would be dope to see in a podcast that talks about sports, or this would be dope to talk about in a music podcast. It's not not fucking holding it to yourself and not thinking that we're better than the next podcast. We're all doing the same thing. We're all reaching towards just growth, just
Yeah.
consistency with the podcast.
Yeah, because the more consistent we are,
Hmm.
we start learning. Well, okay, this sucks but this is dope as hell. We,
Hmm.
we we figure this shit out, and you only figure that shit out by being consistent and constantly doing it. Even
Hmm.
if your shit is whack, you gonna figure it out to make it dope by
Definitely.
staying consistent.
Definitely. If I mean, I don't, want to talk about any artists and bring up, trash rappers, but I'm gonna bring one up right now. You know who Lefty Gunplay is?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that dude. I'm sorry. I'm not a hater or nothing, but I hate, I hate the music. Like it's not even rap at this point. It's just beats and a little rhythm.
Yeah,
Little, but either way, it's just staying consistent. He stayed playing the game. He was playing it, and then finally he got his big break,
Yeah.
which is what we're all striving for. Getting that break that sometimes you don't even expect it coming, or it's sometimes you don't feel like it's deserved, but you just got to keep pushing. You got to
Yeah,
keep it.
if he stays consistent, even though he's around great people like Kendrick,
Hmm.
some of that shit might rub off on him. And you're like, dude, why
Definitely.
did he get dope?
Yeah, yeah.
Because he stayed consistent.
Yeah, he might be. Yeah, he might just start spitting some actual verses. He started
Right.
spitting some, especially with the people that he's around, which is definitely the biggest thing about for the podcasters in SAG is if we're around other podcasters, it's only gonna make us want to do better for our
Right.
own podcast, because it
Exactly.
might be competition, it might be a competitiveness, but there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with a little. Oh, I want to be better than that one, but we're still we're still helping each other grow.
Yeah,
We're still
exactly.
helping each
We're
other.
all in that growing stage. I mean,
Mm,
there's nobody in Sacramento who has uh, been on Joe Rogan.
mm,
You know what I
mm.
mean? We ain't reached that level yet. We're
Yeah.
all trying to, reach another level. Some of us have way more followers and views. Some of them have way less.
Mm,
Either way, we still have dope content and we still have
mm.
great ideas and we still need to be heard and seen. And
Exactly.
and some of the best ways I figured out is going on other podcasts and sharing information. That's why, like I told you about, maybe check into Taja AI, maybe, speed things up for you. So, when you set up, be like, fuck, I'm picking these chapters out. I gotta transcribe everything he said. It should be
Yeah.
done. That shit gets done in. Uh,
No,
the
no
longest
time.
I've seen it take is 2 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
dope as hell.
That's crazy, honestly, because
Two minutes, it explains your whole episode.
that would take like 2 days if you're cutting down every single thing into clips.
Yeah.
That was, and then the people that gotta watch, you gotta watch it first. You gotta watch all the way through, and then you gotta make your cuts. Think about what you want to cut out, and think about what you want to leave in.
Yeah.
So it saves a lot of time. Yeah, that's definitely something that I'm gonna have to look into.
Yeah, because it's just gonna speed your work up.
Hmm.
The fact that all the background stuff you put on YouTube, you
Hmm.
ain't gotta worry about now. You hit the button that says sync,
Hmm.
it's there. You can either put it public or unlisted in case you want to change it for a date.
Yeah,
Moving it forward type shit. So that's dope.
yeah. So thanks so much for being here, man. Thank you for for having me on your podcast.
Yeah,
Also,
thank you for
you
having
know,
me on this podcast. This is
yeah,
dope.
yeah,
Shit.
hell yeah. We're definitely gonna have a lot more coming, and we're trying to build something. We're
Yeah,
trying to build
exactly.
something.
And I see what you're doing is great. I love this free formed idea where you can kind of you kind of pick the brain
Mm-hmm.
to where ideas spark,
Hmm.
and I see a lot of information. I see a lot of good stuff coming forward with your podcast. Keep this shit up, bro.
Thank you, man. We'll definitely stay in contact, and we're
Hell
gonna
yeah.
keep growing. We're both beginners, but we're not beginners, but we're getting to that. We're gonna be the vets sometime soon
Oh yeah. Oh,
in the
definitely. We're
NorCal.
building consistency,
Mm-hmm.
and the next people who are starting out, you know what I mean. They're gonna have questions. They're gonna ask you, "How the fuck did you do that?"
Yeah.
And you know what I mean. Breakdown. They're gonna want to know the breakdown on how you guys started and
Mm-hmm.
how did you get to episode 2
Mm-hmm.
when one didn't go the way you wanted it.
Yeah. So, any last shout outs for the people? Let them know about anything coming out?
I would say definitely check out Support Your Boy Podcast
Definitely.
on YouTube. I need you guys to subscribe to Support Your Boy Podcast so that way when new episodes come out, because sometimes I don't have dates exactly, but
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, will let you know everything you need to know in full. You can also, if you want to follow me, not on YouTube, but just kind of to see clips and kind of conversate with me if you have to, or DM me. Just go on to Instagram, and that link is, of course, um, support the regular way, Cha spelled CHA. So again, let me say it again. So support underscore Cha CHA underscore boy spelled BOI underscore pod. That's
Yeah.
on Instagram. So if you want to follow me there. So please go ahead and do that. A lot of great things coming up. We have more street beef fighters, more hip hop artists, more small businesses. I'm gonna be looking into going to business. I want to interview the some of these restaurants that here. You know what I mean? How they're
Mm-hmm.
doing
Yeah.
as far as the smaller ones. How are they doing compared to some of these big ones? And what are their
They're
pros and
competitors.
cons and things
Yeah.
that's going on, in that world. Because we don't know that world, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so I
Definitely.
think some of them companies need to be supported, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or even better, I would love to get a venue owner who puts on
Mm.
hip hop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely, I'm gonna
Definitely.
go ahead and who allows them. What problems do they go through?
Mm-hmm.
Like because as a rapper and a
Mm-hmm.
singer, you know, why is it so hard to get a show here in Sacramento?
Yeah.
I wanted somebody to talk to give us, information. What the, why is it so tough?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know that answer.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, anyways, these are things I
Mm-hmm.
want to go ahead and look into for 2025. Make sure you follow me. Um, I will follow back. Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you for taking time out of your day
Thank you.
to be with us. And of course, you guys heard all his stuff. All his stuff is gonna be in the description. So make sure you guys go check that out. Go support. Drop a follow. Drop a comment. Say you came from In the Clouds.
Yeah. Do
Um,
that.
and stay tuned for the growth of the Sacramento community, podcast community. I think that's gonna be really dope to see our
Hell yeah.
growth in that.
Hell yeah.
So as always, you guys stay in the clouds.
In the clouds.
Sir.